This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. Brought to you by the Fort Hall School of Government, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 29th of September 2020, and I am 2J.
I'm JM.
And I am GK. In case you missed the headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, economy opens, schools stay shut. In the Standard, let the party begin. And in the Star, Githu gave consent to medical equipment leasing deal and other stories.
Yes.
Let us begin with the Daily Nation.
Yeah. So there's a delicate balance, which the president spoke about yesterday in regard to reopening the economy. Now that the what's the WHO saying? This 2J.
The positivity rate
Rate has come down.
Yeah.
It is now at, what is it, 4%?
Yeah, it's under 5%.
4.4%.
4.4%, precisely. So the president has turned the lights back on the economy, says the nation. He's reduced the curfew time and allowed the bars to open, but only until 10 p.m. But he's also held back on the resumption of learning activities in schools until the safety of children is assured.
Yeah.
And so you can now access a bar until 10 p.m. if you wish, Kajans. Yeah.
Oh, yes, we wish. Yeah.
And so there was a lot of reflection yesterday on the last 6 months, even regarding the conference that took place before the speech, the hits and the misses. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? It was a good reflective moment, I think, and it was good to just sit and think about what COVID means for us and how we can move forward.
I like that he said that they were arguing for a balance between life and the economy. And how it has been a season of paradox, which it truly has. You have a president, sort of always battling between, do I keep people alive or do I keep the economy going? It's been a delicate balance.
Very torn.
And if we shift actually to the Standard, where they tell us that the party can begin, has begun, booze is back. But interestingly, what the Standard points out is how much the government has actually lost with that decision to cut out booze. It cost the government about 16.8 billion in tax revenue losses, in excise taxes. But I think what I also like is that the president outlined that there were some measures he was keeping. For instance, the reduction of pay as you earn for those earning between 24,000 and 100K will continue till next year, January. Turnover tax, however, will end or run its course by the end of December. However, he asked for the quick rollout of the credit guarantee scheme. And here, just sort of really realizing how small businesses need access to credit now more than ever. And there'll be about 100 billion shillings that they can access. So incredible. That's something, if it's rolled out in the right way, could be quite instrumental. But also, what else did I like? They announced the loss of jobs, but I think the pandemic the world over has shown just how fragile economies can be. And I think it's a moment for us to sort of start shifting to these newer sort of new age jobs, the digital jobs, the idea that you can now order food and you're shopping online and things like that. Those are things that the more modern economies had already shifted towards. And this pandemic has accelerated us.
Those things for us, definitely.
What I also like that the Daily Nation did was that they noted that Uhuru Kenyatta's speech had a different tone to it. So they said that the analogies that the president has used before were to do with wartime, and this time they were replaced with a ship charting its course. And he said things like, "I'm confident that we will stay the course for the remainder of this journey and reach our desired end. I will not hesitate to escalate containment measures in the event any of these indicators registers on my dashboard." So I really
very good analysis.
So the key thing there is schools will remain shut. Which I think is also good.
I think that's key. That's critical.
Yeah, because I think schools opening in other countries around the world has led to second waves. So I think this is just us being cautious. And also for parents to plan school fees. Don't spend it all in the bus. Well, we have a 3-part criteria that we're going to use to break down the headlines. We ask ourselves, is it topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And is it thoughtful or just plain lazy? I like both the Daily Nation and the Standard.
I like the Standard better.
The Standard has a good ring to it. It's topical. Both are topical. But I think the party beginning is a little bit more thoughtful.
It is. It's fun.
It's fun. Yeah. Let's move to the Star before we make a decision.
The Star, which is a completely out of place headline. Guido gave consent to medical equipment leasing deal. So this is a story that actually dates back to 2015 and is in reference to the ex-Attorney General, Guido Muigai. And it relates to a medical leasing deal that was with Philips and some of the county governments. And so what has come out in some papers that the Star is, exclusively has with them is that the former AG gave the thumbs up for some lawyers to be part of the deal. And so they're kind of pointing the finger at him, saying that because he did so and it was not in line with former procurement rules, that he should bear some of the brunt. But one interesting thing that they do also outline is that the Ministry of Health seemed to have used the AG as a decoy to sign off on deals that they had already made. So they had already gone ahead and done all these things, and they just presented them to him as a final stamp of approval. I mean, of course, I guess the question we have to ask is, why is this story coming up now?
Why now?
Who paid for this
headline? I think we know the owner of the Star. I think we know some of the people involved in this story. So 1 + 1 = 3. 3 apparently.
But those witch hunting should do well to remember that you might do it now, but it's going to come back and
bite you later. Everybody has a story in their closet. So you know what? Let's bring up this 2015. But I'm sure there's plenty other stories that we can bring up for other people.
And I think we can expect that there'll probably be more mudslinging in the run-up to 2022.
So on the fact that this story makes no sense and is not relevant, please could we toss it?
Toss it right away.
Okay, so it's between the Standard and the Nation. I suspect we're going with the Standard.
The Standard, absolutely, but with caution.
Oh yeah. Don't fight it too hard.
Don't fight it too hard. And that's what the president said as well yesterday. Okay.
On to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, where we also have a 3-part criteria. We ask ourselves, is it humorous or dry? Is it satirical or pessimistic? And is it effective or just plain lazy? Can we begin with the Daily Nation?
Yes, and so here we have a caricature of President Uhuru Kenyatta opening a door with very many locks. But the thing to note here, the sarcasm here, I think, is that the door does not have walls to the right or to the left. And hence the statement, reopening what is already open.
Yeah.
And so to his left, we see Atwoli and Murathe walking arm in arm, while to his right is Mudavadi holding a microphone. And then behind the door is RUTO with a purple hustler's clerk hat. Kalonzo there, Raila next to the BBI report in a regular scarf.
And there's a round of applause.
Just partying and drinking and cheering, and round of applause, as you're saying.
Why is the BBI report on the floor? Surely, pick it up. Tell us what's
Open the report.
Absolutely.
I quite like this.
I think they're just poking fun at the fact that before the most recent, opening up that the president did yesterday,
people were still
rallies were happening, reggae, was in full force.
And people were still drinking.
that is true.
Okay, let's park it for humor.
Yes, it is a good cartoon.
In the Standard, you are fired. And there is a caricature of a lawyer called Fatma Karume, a Tanzanian lawyer and former president of the Mainland Bar Association. And she has a flyer around her that's saying she is fired.
My goodness.
And she's holding Lady Justice, and she has a sword. And basically, I think the context here is that she was disbarred.
Yeah, she was disbarred and also removed from her law firm. So she can no longer, she's no longer an advocate.
She has been removed from a role of advocate.
Yeah, she can no longer practice.
That's something that you do only to criminal, I was going to say criminal lawyers. But no, but what I mean is lawyers who in turn do things which are unethical, which are criminal and that kind of thing.
And the funny thing is, that's actually what the ethics committee cited. They said that there was something about the breach of code of ethics, but I think the real reason
is that
she
political.
It is political, but she's been going on social media being quite critical of the government, and in true Magufuli fashion, he didn't want to hear it. So.
My goodness. Okay. She might be. This should then launch her career into politics, become an MP of the sort of thing. And maybe she could even become president of Tanzania one day.
Wow, forward looking. All right.
I tell you, there's a very nice picture I've seen of her with Nyerere in the past, and those are the kind of pictures I love to see. A very young lady or a very young man with in turn more senior personality, a person in society. And that shows a relationship of mentorship, and maybe she's
heading in that direction.
She's heading in that direction for bigger things in the future.
Fantastic. So park that one. In the Star, we have caricatures of Uhuru Kenyatta.
Dr. Uhuru
Kenyatta. And he has a big key in his pocket, his doctor's coat, but he's also holding an X-ray, and the X-ray is of his country, of Kenya. And on the bed, the ICU bed, I'm guessing, is Kenya.
Yeah.
And, you know, Kenya is strapped up to the oxygen machine, the heart monitor and all sorts of things. And on the doctor's panel there is the coronavirus. And the caption there is "Not yet Uhuru." A rather pessimistic cartoon.
Pessimistic, especially right after such a good speech where the president did something, you know, beneficial to the country.
Yeah.
Clearly the Star on all fronts has missed something.
I've only got one thing to say here to also. Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
On that note, you should toss
with
the
this kind
Star.
of cartoon, toss it once and for all.
We'll toss it, definitely.
For being so negative, pessimistic. Okay, so between the Daily Nation and Fatima Karume, who do we give it?
Daily Nation, but I give an applaud to Gado.
Yeah.
Remember, Gado is Tanzanian, so it is nice when he critiques his own country, and I think he told us something new.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who?
Give it to Gado.
Oh, sorry, I tossed the standard. The Daily Nation.
Oh no, today. Okay, sawa.
So who are we giving it to?
The Daily Nation.
Okay, there you have.
By default, I suppose, yeah.
No, but you can pick it up. You know, you can pick it up and.
Too far.
Okay, sawa.
The Daily Nation gives us our winning cartoon.
And now for our final thought, but before we get there, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And now our final thought. This week we're looking at leadership. And today we're going to take a look at Blue Ocean Strategy, how to create uncontested market space and make the competition irrelevant, written by W. Chan Kim and Renee Morbogne. So the essence of this book, it argues that cutthroat competition results in nothing but a bloody red ocean of rivals who end up fighting over a shrinking profit pool. And they say in this book that instead, companies should look for a new market space and new ways to reinvent their industry. And in short, to avoid a head-to-head competition, you know, that like clashing of competitors, they should focus on innovation, and they should focus on a blue ocean strategy where you create demand rather than fight over it.
Yes.
And so the goal of the blue ocean strategy is for organizations to find and develop blue oceans. And a blue ocean is an uncontested growing market, and avoid a red ocean, which is an overdeveloped, saturated market.
Yeah.
And they say that companies will have success, fewer risks, increased profits if they focus on this blue ocean strategy. And so in red oceans, they say, industry boundaries are well known and they're well accepted. And so the competitive rules of the game are known, and people are afraid to, you know, step outside of those boundaries. But then companies end up trying to outperform each other and their rivals. They try to grab a greater share of the market space. But then you have this issue where the markets get very crowded, and then prospects for profit just end up dwindling. And so they say that all blue ocean strategies do the same thing. They define a new value curve. So they find a completely new value proposition that creates more value, not only for themselves, but for the customer as well. And so to illustrate their ideas, the authors use lots of real life experiences. And so Cirque du Soleil is one that I will look at. And it's one of the examples that they use to show how well a blue ocean strategy can work amidst a red ocean marketplace. And so circuses in the 1980s, they tell us, were dominated by a monopoly of just two companies. And they featured what I think we understand to be the traditional circus layout. You have these three-ring circuses, you have clowns, animal acts, you know, various number of things, and they were focused at families with children, so not adults. It was not meant to be anything raunchy or interesting. But competition was very strong, and so circuses were trying to compete against each other to get more market share, more clients coming in, but at the same time they were raising costs while trying to do that. And but buyers at this time were having other appealing substitutes. You have television, video games, cinema, so why should I go to the circus? And then at the same time you have the public having these issues about the treatment of animals. So a former street performer by the name of Guy La Liberté decided to escape this red ocean space, and he decided to create a blue ocean of theatrical entertainment. And in comes what we know today as Cirque du Soleil. And so the show combines this adult theater with the same, you know, incredible feats of, you know, our acrobatics and physical acts and whatnot. And so this blue ocean strategy that they took on then distinguished them from the traditional circuses. And so they were able to change it by one, increasing the ticket sales. And so I think a typical circus ticket, you could say, is maybe 500 shillings, $5.
Yeah.
Cirque du Soleil tickets are upwards of $250. That's 25,000 shillings for one show. But they then did this thing where they made their artists anonymous, so they could not be poached by other circuses. So you don't know who's behind the makeup, behind the mask. They removed the animals, which then reduce costs, so they're not paying for food, for medical care, for training and whatnot. And they then ended up turning the 3-stage typical format into just one stage. So you're just looking at one thing, it's very theatrical. And so what the authors say, that I think summarizes what Cirque du Soleil did very well, is that the only way to beat the competition is to stop trying to beat the competition. You know, turn a blind eye and do something completely unique. And that's how you'll, you know, find yourself an uncontested market space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about the 4 traits which guide the especially powerful perspective of any blue ocean strategist. And I want to do that by talking about a story. But before that, Tujay, I just want to talk about the difference between red ocean and blue ocean. Just break it down a little bit. And this is a story from another book, The Jewish Phenomenon. And this guy is breaking down the success of Jews. And he says, for your typical Jew, different from, let's say, a Kenyan. You know, a Jew, or let's start with a Kenyan. A Kenyan will set up a business. That business will succeed, and his counterparts will see him succeeding. And do you know what the counterparts will do?
Copy.
Is go next to him, set up the exact same stall, sell the same clothes, sell the same kind of
hardware,
product, hardware. Let me set up a hardware store because Kamal's is working. But what the Jew will do, if the first guy sets up a hardware store, the second guy will set up a petrol station, the third guy will set up a supermarket, the fourth guy will set up an Italy, and before you know it, everybody is complementing everybody else. And that's the essence of the blue ocean strategy. So the first step in doing blue ocean strategy thinking is to find your own. Is to adopt a mindset rather with very broad horizons. And I want to give an example here, given in the book, about a UK charity known as Comic Relief. The charity industry in the UK is a prime example of red ocean strategy. There are, for example, 600 cancer charities in London alone.
Wow.
So if you walk on the streets of London on your typical summer day, you will be accosted by, World Vision. So many charities trying to raise money from you. And so the question is, how do you stand out, for example, amongst 600 charities? And Comic Relief instituted a blue ocean shift by fundamentally reconceptualizing their idea. Every other year since the 1980s, what the charity has done is hold a Red Nose Day, in which people do all manner of funny things to solicit donations. And so on Red Nose Day, the organization gets people such as the CEO, for example, to hold a business meeting with a red ball stuck on his nose like a clown and wear that for the entire day and do funny acts. And those Red Nose Days have been a massive success. In 2017, for instance, they raised around £73 million, about 10.1 billion shillings. Can you imagine? It's a lot of money. And so that tells us the Comic Relief was conceived with a blue ocean perspective. So here are the 4 traits that we learn from them. Blue ocean strategists think of industry conditions as malleable, and that's precisely what Comic Relief did in this instance. Instead of accepting the conventional modes of fundraising, like the fancy galas, the charity implemented a brand new concept. They thought without the box, as we like to say. Blue ocean strategists don't set out to beat competitors, but instead they want to obliterate or to make the competition sort of obsolete, the models that the competitors are working. So Comic Relief in this case, we see, didn't try to copy other charities and win the donor race. In fact, what they did with the Red Nose Days had no competition from any other charity, and they effectively eliminated the competition that way. Number 3, blue ocean strategists endeavor to produce a new demand. And Comic Relief did just that. Rather than pitching wealthy donors, the organization made charity attractive to just about everybody, no matter how tiny their contributions were. And finally, Comic Relief evidences a blue ocean perspective because it's both low cost and distinct, at the same time. And with its fundraising approach, the group clearly sets itself apart from other charities, but it's also a low-cost organization that doesn't pour donations into year-round marketing or grant writing, the typical things that people do. So the lesson here is think outside of the box.
Yeah, the box. I keep wondering whether a Kenyan CEO would wear a red nose.
They should.
And do a board meeting.
James Mwangi, we're looking at you.
They maybe take themselves too seriously. So in part 3 of the book, the authors talk about how do you actually execute a blue ocean strategy, and they look at ways to overcome the organizational hurdles. Now, usually the organizational hurdles are to do with the people themselves. How do you break the status quo? How do you motivate these people into moving forward with this change, this shift in mindset? And how do you get the maximum bang for your buck? Like, how do you use the least amount of resources to get the most amount of impact? And how do you knock down the political roadblocks? So they outline about 3 things. I'll do them quickly. One is to zoom in on kingpins. Now, if you think of a game of bowling, the kingpin is the one that you would hit straight on, and all the other pins would fall down. Yeah? So they say for strategic change and to have this impact, don't look at everybody. So concentrate instead of diffuse. So look at these key influential people in your workplace who sort of are natural leaders. They're respected, they're persuasive, and they have the ability to unblock or block access to key resources. So they're the ones you try to convince of this new mindset of yours. And so they say that this small number of key influencers, you place them in a fishbowl. Now, a fishbowl is all the way see-through. And at the heart of motivating these kingpins in a meaningful way is to shine a spotlight on their actions in a repeated and a highly visible way. Now, this is called fishbowl management. And so the idea is that you would show the kingpins' actions. Where they do well, you really highlight it and hopefully motivate other people around them to see that. But also, you raise the stake of inaction. So basically, if you're not doing a good job and you're a kingpin and you're put in that bowl, everybody can see you're in action. And the idea is to shine light on those who are lagging behind, but also to set a fair stage to say, listen, if you want to be, if you want to make change and you want to do good, this is the place to do it, and we will showcase the good that you're doing. So it's a motivation thing. And then the third thing they say is leverage your angels and silence your devils. So to knock down the political hurdles in your workplace, ask yourself 2 sets of questions. Who are my devils? Who will fight me? Who will lose the most by my future blue ocean strategy? And then the second set of questions is, who are your angels? Who will naturally align with you? And who will gain the most from my strategic shift? And the idea here is not to fight alone. In this, even if you're the CEO or the leader, don't fight alone. Get the higher and wider voice to fight with you. Identify your detractor and your supporters, and forget the middle. So here we're just looking at the guys on the extreme ends, and strive to create a win-win outcome for both.
It's a very good point.
It is. And so by building a broader coalition with your angels before a battle begins, you're going to be stronger. You discourage the war before it even begins.
Precisely.
So really interesting book. And I think you can draw personal, business, and political lessons from this book. So it's really interesting. So on a day where we had winning headline from The Standard and a winning cartoon from the Daily Nation, I want to leave you with this. TJ told us that we should compete by not competing, which I really liked. But I want to end with this, and it's about the people. Commitment, trust, and voluntary cooperation are not merely attitudes or behavior. They're intangible capital. They allow companies to stand apart in the speed, quality, and consistency of their execution, and to implement strategic shifts fast and at a very low cost. So embrace the blue ocean strategies in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, but also find us on TV. We're on GoTV, Prime Free to Air.